This is a rubber-coated iron plate, and this is a urethane-coated iron plate. Both of these are true iron plates with a protective coating, and both are made by Rep Fitness. What's the difference between the two coatings and the plates themselves? I'm Marcus, and I'm going to have answers to those questions and more coming up. So I think we first need to establish the difference between rubber and urethane, both of which are from the rubber family. Rubber can come naturally from rubber trees. Urethane, however, is a synthetic product, man-made, and it is part of the rubber family, but it differs in hardness and a lot of other qualities. Both of them are protective coatings, in this case for the iron plates themselves, and this is meant for a home gym environment where one is typically trying to reduce the noise, vibration, and potential damage to flooring or other equipment within the environment. Let's start by discussing the differences in hardness between the two. Rubber is a much softer compound than urethane, and urethane is a man-made synthetic product, but of course that has to be processed, and part of processing urethane in its liquid form is to cure it with a hardener. That gives it its hardness property, but there is variation within both of these on a hardness scale, much like there is in terms of steel for barbells. If you were around in the 70s, you might have noticed the transition in roller skate wheels from rubber to urethane, but a lot of that depended on the environment with which those wheels were going to use. Rubber was great for using outside and keeping the ride more comfortable because it absorbed and reduced vibration from different pavement, whereas urethane is preferred to be used indoors on roller rinks with a hardwood floor. So rubber is a little softer, and that will reduce vibration and noise. Urethane, being harder, will absorb less, sound louder, and also have little less traction than rubber. And that leads me to my next point, which is the feel. The rubber is softer to the touch, obviously, but it also has a bit of a tackiness to it, a grip, if you will, whereas urethane, although slightly textured, has a little bit more of a slippery feel to it when it comes to grip. So if I were to use either of these for farmer's carries, for example, I would prefer to use the rubber because of the tackier, grippier feel. Urethane, being harder, is more durable and stands up to some of the environmental aspects like sun, oil, and water, whereas rubber is a little bit more prone to cuts, abrasions, and actual tears because of the softer material and compound. That being said, since rubber is softer, it's better at absorbing vibrations and therefore is more quiet than urethane. So if you prefer a quieter plate in your home environment, rubber is going to be the way to go. And although rubber comes from a natural resource, it is less costly to produce, and that's why these rubber-coated plates are less expensive than the urethane-coated plates. In addition to the cost of materials, urethane is a little costlier to produce due to the manufacturing process where there is a hardening and curing stage. One of the great benefits of urethane is that the bonding process is a tighter and better bond to other materials like iron than rubber. If you wanted to eliminate the rubber from this iron, it would be easier to do than the urethane, which has a tighter bond to the iron. So why bother coating the iron in the first place? Well, it protects the iron from rust, abrasions, chips, and it also affords protection for your surroundings like your floor, your other equipment. Inevitably, while working out, you will come into contact with your rack, with benches, with flooring, maybe furniture, and what have you. If one of these plates was to fall off a bar because you were trapped under a bar on a bench press, for example, and you were to roll the bar side to side to let the plates come off, and you're in your garage, for example, one of these plates could potentially roll into the vehicle. So if you have an iron plate, obviously it's going to do more damage to the surroundings than a coated plate like this rubber or urethane coated plate. Of course, it will keep the environment quieter, so if you're training early in the morning, late in the evening, or even perhaps during the day while you have children napping, then the coated plates will certainly be less noisy than bare iron plates clanging against each other, hitting platforms, potentially hitting your rack, and so on. So let's compare the two different coatings in a number of categories, starting with feel, looks, accuracy, sound, and price. As stated before, the rubber has a tackier, softer feel, a little more of a grippier feel, if you will, whereas the urethane, being slicker, even though slightly textured, involves a little more consciousness for you to actually grip those plates with your hands and making sure when you do take them off a bar, if it's a heavy plate like a 45, it's not going to slide out of your hand and land on your toes, for example. With the rubber, that's less likely to happen due to the fact that it's just a grippier material. Let's skip accuracy for a moment and let's talk about looks. For me, it's really difficult to judge one of these over the other. I like both for different reasons when it comes to the physical appearance. And for me, with my home gym scheme of black and red, these plates fit in perfectly. And I love all of them, to be honest. In terms of look, these have a little bit more of a darker feel, and I hope that comes through on the camera, where the black seems a little blacker and the urethane plates seem to have a little bit more of a slightly lighter color, more of a charcoal gray than a true black like these rubber coated plates. Now, of course, these rubber do absorb more of the environment, whether it's liquids like oil or oxygen and so on. So depending on the humidity level in your environment, they can change in appearance probably. On some of my videos you might have noted that some of these rubber coated plates have a whiter, powdered kind of appearance to some of the areas of the plates. There is a little less consistency in the tone of the rubber, but I think that's partly due to the nature of rubber itself. Whereas urethane, being a liquid substance to start with, they're able to make the urethane appearance a little more consistent from end to end. Also, you're able to do engraving in urethane due to the fact that it's a harder material. So if you actually wanted to engrave the weight of the plate into the urethane, you're able to do that. Whereas with rubber, it's not as solid and it's softer, so you wouldn't get as clean an engraving in rubber as you would, for example, with urethane. And of course, appearance is a subjective characteristic, so to each their own. Let's talk about sound. Rubber is obviously and clearly more quiet and absorbing than the urethane plates. I've done a demonstration, and I'll show that again, where rubber to rubber has a completely different sound than urethane to urethane when you're butting plates up against each other on a barbell. And that translates to certain lifts like deadlifts. So when I'm using my urethane plates for deadlifts, they definitely make a louder sound when coming into contact with the ground as I'm doing touch and go deadlifts, whereas the rubber is definitely quieter. Okay, so here I'm going to demonstrate the sound of the two different coatings as the plates collide with one another so you can understand the difference in your own home environment. This is the rubber coated plates. Make more of a thud, a little bit more of a silent thud, definitely muted compared to the urethane plates. And this is the same kind of sound you can expect with touch and go deadlifts. Now listen to the urethane plates. Definitely a louder sound with a little bit of reverberation due to the harder surface coating of the urethane. Definitely a lot noisier, but that's the trade-off for getting a harder, more durable coating to the iron. Now talking about price, I'll flash the prices on the screen as Rep Fitness currently has them available. You can see that the price of the rubber coated plates are less expensive than the urethane, but not by a whole lot. Again, urethane is more costly to manufacture than rubber, and that explains the difference in cost right there. So if your budget allows for any type of plate, for example, you can go with either. If your budget is constrained, I could definitely still recommend these over standard Olympic barbell plates. The coating is a nice touch, especially in a home environment. Now talking about real world durability, I've had both plates for almost 2 years. These closer to 2 years, the urethane plates a few months less, and I can honestly say that between both of them, they both lasted and held up just as well as one another. It's really hard for me to say which one might last another 10, 20 years. Only time will tell. But I can say in this environment that is temperature controlled and humidity controlled, I think they're both going to last just as long. If the environment changes, for example, and this were a garage gym where there isn't insulation and it gets to extremely high temperatures in the summer and extremely low temperatures in the winter, then that might be something you have to consider for yourself and determine which one would be a better choice. Now in terms of accuracy of weight, I have the 45s in 2 pairs of rubber and 2 pairs of urethane. I also have 2.5 pound change plates, both in rubber and urethane. So I'm going to put all of them on the scale so you can see the difference for yourself and determine just how accurate these plates are from the standpoint of the rubber coatings, and see if you can see a difference for yourself that helps you determine which ones you think are more accurate and therefore which ones you might prefer to choose. Scale has been zeroed out. And you can see there, hopefully, 44.5 pounds. So very accurate. 44.6. And then put the next 45 pound down. And that is also 44.6. So there you see the rubber coated plates, very accurate. Now we'll try the urethane coated plates. Let's put the plate on there. 44.6. That's pretty exact compared to the other rubber coated plates. Let's get this one, switch out this urethane plate. Wait for the scale to reactivate. Zero that out. And the next 45 pound is down. Exactly 44.6. How's that for accuracy? First one, 2.5 pounds. And it comes up as 2 pounds, 8 1/4 ounces. That's the first one. Now we're going to try a rubber coated plate. 2 pounds, 8 1/2 ounces. Next rubber coated plate. 2 pounds, 8 1/8 ounces. And the next and last urethane change plate, 2 pounds, 8 3/8 ounces. It's all within a fraction of each other, showing the accuracy between both rubber and urethane coated plates. So to recap, between the urethane and rubber coated iron plates, very similar in a lot of different ways. If you look at the information flashed on the screen regarding thickness of plates, that's the only thing that really varies physically between the two plates, not in these change plate size, but on the larger 45, 35, and 25 pounds. 35s might be different. 45s are definitely different, whereas the rubber coated 45s are 1.8 inches in thickness and the urethane 45s are 2 inches in thickness. And it is a noticeable difference. When it comes to these plates, there are some minor differences. You know, this rubber is grippier, the urethane is slipperier, this absorbs more, this absorbs less, quieter, louder, costs less, costs more. Those are about the differences. If you're asking me my opinion on what I prefer the most, it's really hard to say because I like both equally. Each has their own qualities that are unique to them and preferable at different times. Costs are pretty similar, but obviously the rubber's less expensive, so if you're looking at outfitting your gym with a whole set, a whole matching set of plates, then the rubber is going to cost you a lot less down the end for an entire set, especially if you're adding to it later. If you're looking for straight iron plates, there's plenty to choose from, whether it's from Rogue or the really nice strength coat plates. But if you're looking for a coated iron plate, you have a few to choose from, and these two options from Rep are pretty damn good in my opinion. You can't go wrong with either. Both are great choices, and when it comes to long-lasting durability, so it's really hard to say, but I can't imagine much of a difference between the rubber and urethane coated plates in terms of long-lasting durability. They all look like they're still brand new in terms of the quality and the condition. None of them have any tears, none of them have any abrasions or scratches or cuts. They're all mint, in my opinion. I could turn around and sell these today and pass them off as new pretty much. Good choice either way. So there you have it. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section below and I'll be sure to answer those as best as possible. Also, if you consider purchasing either of these or any other Rep Fitness equipment that I've reviewed in the past, please consider using my affiliate link as it's very helpful. It allows me to continue bringing you more reviews like this in the future. Thanks again as always for watching. I appreciate it greatly and I'll catch you on the next one.